Hey girls, hey. Hey boys, hey. Welcome back to my channel. It's Mama Beauty's here. Bet you thought you weren't going to see me today. I wasn't feeling good earlier, so I took a long nap, and you guys know how that goes. I wake up refreshed, and I am ready to rock and roll. I got my second wind. I showered. I'm fresh, and my days and nights are mixed up, but that's okay. Remember, you guys, that this is a community that we do not hate. We participate, we articulate, and we agree to disagree. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law that we discuss here for entertainment purposes only. So I wanted to get back to the Chris Watts Discovery pages since we've been going over that. You guys have been patiently waiting for that. Thank you so much for allowing me to do my pop-up shops. I found out that my car is a timing belt, you guys, and it is $1,175. I'm going to pick it up tomorrow, but that depleted my Christmas fund. So I am not asking you for money at all. What I'm going to do is continue to do some pop-up shops. I will not normally do this many pop-up shops, but because I had to pay for my car, you guys, I have to replenish that money. So we're going to do another pop-up shop as soon as my other nails get here, and I'll probably do 4 before Christmas. Everybody that ordered from my pop-up shop last night, your stuff is on its way and you are good to go. So I also put my link for Mary Kay down below. If you're somebody that wants to do your Christmas shopping locally, you want to get help support a local business, yours truly is a makeup consultant for Mary Kay, so you're free to shop on my site. That will help me tremendously to replenish that money. So will if you shop on my nail site. I did put both of those links down below for you guys to just browse it if you want to, but they make great stocking stuffers. Plus, Mary Kay is what makes my skin look this good. Everything I have on right now, my eyebrows are Mary Kay, my mascara, my eyeshadow, my foundation, contour, everything is Mary Kay. So feel free to get that email up top and ask me anything you want. Reach out to me and I can help you if you have some problem areas. But back to Chris Watts. And my family is very humble. They do not have any problems with getting the car fixed for a Christmas present for everybody, because I do take my daughter everywhere she needs to go. We are very humble. We can have a small Christmas and just be happy that the car is fixable and that we're not having to come up with $5,000 down payment to get another car that's going to be payments every month. I still have a car that's paid for. Yes, it's the timing belt, but all these other things will be fixed in the process. And so it's a blessing that me and my son didn't have to walk. And it's a blessing that the car is able to be fixed. So please don't feel like I'm discouraged or anything like that. I know that God is good and that Christmas is about something totally different than getting presents, and I have instilled that in my children and they totally understand that. So it's just the mama in me that's going to get my hustle on and make sure that I at least replenished half of that so I can give them half of the Christmas that I wanted to. I do have a granddaughter that I want to spoil too, so we're going to be doing more makeup tutorials just so you guys will know the products that you might be thinking about purchasing. And I will be applying another set of Christmas nails. I do have more Christmas nails on the way anyways. So, fire going, nap, listen, same. Hey, so sorry, Donna, just about to have dinner at 6:30. Ooh, I'm glad I got you early. Let me get this heat off. It's warm in this hoodie. And we're going to jump into Discovery. YouTube will evidently pay me for last month sometime before the 15th. So at least I have that. I made $200 on YouTube last month. Whoop, whoop. that was my very first month, so I can't complain. I wasn't expecting to make anything at all. And so thanks to my lovely subscribers, I will be getting paid through YouTube. Thank you. That sometime before the 15th. So that is a humble blessing too. So in all actuality, the car's really only $1,000 if I count that YouTube money. So yeah. All right. So let's stop talking about that depressing crap and get on with this discovery, you guys. So we left off on page 501. If you have not watched my other videos, I have a video of this Chris Watts discovery from pages zero. Well, it's kind of whatever, 0 to 200. And then I made another video of pages 200 to 400. And then the next set of pages was 401 to 500 because there was so much to go over. So there's 3 earlier videos. This will be the 4th video of the discovery pages, and it's 501. And I'm only going to go for about an hour, so I'm not really sure what page we will end on. But we are going to comb through these bad boys together. All righty, let's just go ahead and block you. All right, so I'm sure all my mods are sleeping, so help me keep an eye on people, you guys, together, por favor. Thank you, Tracy Lynn. That's so awesome to hear. Makes a girl feel good. Okay, so page 501, it says on August 16th, 2018, interviewed with Nicole Kessinger at the Thornton Police Department. And then underneath action taken, so you can see this is the discovery page that I'm reading, and it's page 501. So the action taken on August 16, 2018, Colorado Bureau of Investigation agent Kevin Kobach and CBI agent Timothy Martinez met with Nicole Kessinger at the Thornton Police Department to speak with Nicole regarding the case. Nicole had previously talked with agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. However, the interview was not video recorded. Nicole asked for a ride to the Thornton Police Department, and Agent Martinez and I picked her up near her home in North Glen, Colorado, and transported her to the Thornton Police Department for an interview. Now, this stood out to me because it didn't say that they picked her up at her home, you guys. It said that they picked her up near her home. So she never interviewed in her home like some of the other parties did in Discovery. So it seems like she wanted to keep the police away from her home. And why would they pick her up near her home? And if it was at like a gas station or something, they would have put that there. So I am assuming, now this is speculation, that she walked somewhere to meet them, to keep them away from her neighborhood so her neighbors did not see the police. Now, if she was behind the Oxy, or Jim was behind the Oxy and they were moving Oxy, speculation, of course, innocent until proven guilty, she would not want any of her neighbors that might have been purchasing from her or him to see the police pull into the apartment complex. So I just thought it was odd. What are your thoughts on why she had these police officers pick her up? For one, because her dad came to the Thornton Police Department. Why didn't her dad get her? Why did she have the police get her, then meet her dad at the Thornton Police Department to talk to the police, and then not meet them at her house, meet them at near her house? It was just odd. That was just an odd thing to me. I have come to the thought that NK came across Shanann first and envied her so much that she was willing to take her husband and turn him out while he takes the fall for her master plan. Did y'all know that she called around to other police stations that day? Yes, I've reported that before here, Lala. And she hung up on one of them. her safe home nonetheless. Yes, why haven't any of her neighbors got anything come out with any information regarding Chris being at her apartment? I don't know, unless they were involved to an extent, like her neighbors were purchasing oxys, or I don't know. I still have no idea. It's driving me nuts. But I just thought that it was interesting that in Discovery, that it said that the police picked her up near her home. And when I look at my computer, the glasses give you a glare. So I'm going to try to only put them on when I'm reading down this way and then take them off to look at you. So then it says that they picked her up near her home in North Glen, Colorado, and transported her to the Thornton Police Department for an interview. Nicole was present with her father, and then it says in parentheses, who drove himself to the Thornton Police Department. So if he was going there anyway, why did he not get Nicole? Why was it necessary for the police or for Kevin and this other guy, Timothy, to go pick her up near her home? If her dad was already going there, I just don't understand that. If you guys can help shed some light, let me know. So Dwayne Kessinger and agreed to speak with us. It said Nicole was present with her father, Dwayne Kessinger, and agreed to speak with us. The interview with Nicole was audio and video recorded. The audio is attached to this report. The recorded interview is too large of a file to attach to this report. Therefore, it was booked into evidence under this supplemental. Prior to starting the interview with Nicole, we had discussed with Nicole about collecting her phone for a download. Nicole verbally consented to a download being done on her phone relating to the messages and phone logs between her and Christopher Watts. I noted Nicole was very tired during the interview, and she reported that she had very little sleep over the past few days. The following is a synopsis of the interview with Nicole. For a complete record of the interview, refer to the audio or video recording. Also, for transcripts for this interview were requested and will be attached the transcript to a separate supplemental report once it has been completed. Prior to the interview, Nicole provided me with the items of clothing belonging to Christopher Watts that she no longer wanted in her home. Nicole also provided me with a handwritten card from Watts and birthday cards he had given her. Those items were booked into evidence at the CBI Lakewood office. Copies of the cards are attached to this report. During the interview, Nicole stated the following. She deleted all Chris's information from her phone. Chris Watts' phone number is a 910 extension. She met him in early June or May. They met at work. He did not have a wedding ring on his finger. He never mentioned he was in a relationship, and he did not initially mention his children. One day he told her he had 2 children. She thought it was cute that he had kids. He mentioned he did have a significant other, and they were in the process of a separation. She did not know Shanann's name for a while. She thought he told her his children's name pretty early. Nicole is a contract employee at Anadarko Petroleum in Platteville, Colorado. She works in safety in the office. Chris also works at the same location, but mainly works at the oil wells in the fields. He does come into the office most mornings. That is page 501. Yes, exactly. Why would they pick her up? She was with her dad. Exactly. Like, I think she most likely came across Shanann through Thrive, and for whatever reason, jealousy, I suppose NK had it out for Shanann, and I don't think she loved Chris Watts. Lala, I think that she got invited to one of those big parties that Shanann was having for Thrive, and she saw Chris upstairs with the kids while she was down there entertaining, and that would make any woman take notice. Not that I'm a homewrecker, but if this man was married to this woman that's trying to get me to be on her team, was upstairs taking care of my son, who is a handful at times, so I could have a moment with his wife that we could talk about me joining her team. It would stand out to me. I would take note that this dude is unlike most dudes in the world, and he is upstairs taking care of children. And so I think that's how they met. And I think that's when she went home and she Googled Shanann to see if there was anything else going on, and she sought out to be with him. And I think that she even went to work there hoping to get closer to him, if she wasn't already working there when she went to one of Shanann's Thrive parties. Maybe he invited her to one from the workplace, because she did say he first tried to sell Thrive to her. She said that in one of her interviews. So maybe he tried to sell it to her. She came to one of the parties. She saw him upstairs, and it escalated from there. Yes, Coco. When I told you I wasn't feeling good and we canceled the live for 8 p.m., I lay down, took a nap, and I slept until now. I guess I woke up at 1 a.m. and I felt so much better. I think I was just sleep deprived from everything I had to get done. After I did the pop-up shop last night, I had to get everybody's invoices out. I had to get payment. I had to pack up everybody's stuff. I had to borrow a car to go to the post office. When I got to the post office, it's just been a long day, and I'm getting laundry done in the process. So thank you for your comment, Coco. Good deduction, Mama. I think Kay being tired all the time was just a way of getting out of telling the truth. She's very manipulative with the police and would talk when they were talking. Yeah, she'd be real tired when she don't want to talk about something, but then she would just be a burst full of energy like me whenever she was talking about nonsense. So she was playing with them. Or I knew what you meant, Janine. The way they all interviewed blew my mind. Like, oh, so nice, even though they were being interviewed for the most horrific murders for no good reason. Yes, she looked up Shanann early on, nothing but lies. I can see that, and sounds possible, Mama. I just don't believe not a one damn word out of her mouth, though, Mama. Were you on long? We had a fire, had to get out of my house. What, Linda? Are you serious? Is everything okay now? Yeah, exactly. If she's even speaking, she's lying. All right, let's get to the next page while Linda tells us if she's okay. I cannot believe my car is a timing belt, you guys. Out of all things, I thought it would be a serpent belt or whatever it was called. That would only be a $200 fix. But timing belt is a huge expense. So I'm trying to stay distracted from that. All right, so we ended on page 501 talking about how Chris does come into the office most mornings, Nicole said, and she said that they met at work, and she manages the gas monitor sensors that they have. And she has seen Chris before. He came in for sensors one day and they started talking. They had a good conversation. One day he told her he had kids. He also said he had a wife, but they were getting separated. He told Nicole this before Father's Day in June, and they had never been out on a date to this point, and they only talked at work. They started hanging out and met at a park near her house, East Lake number 3. They first met at the park in the end of June or the beginning of July. This was their first meeting outside of work. They had a lot of conversations, talking every day. He was never hostile when he talked of his wife and their separation. He was always kind. To this day, Nicole didn't see any red lights with the way that he spoke about his family. Chris is an introvert. He is reserved around other people. He enjoyed talking to her because he could get out of his shell. After most people, he did not feel like he wanted to around most people, he did not feel like he wanted to talk. With Nicole, he was a little more outgoing. He was very relaxed all the time. He really never got worked up. They never had any arguments. He never lost his temper, and she never saw him mad or upset. He was always very rational. He was very open with communication and open minded about things. He was not closed off. He was kind. Wow, she speaks of him in this interview way differently than she does later on down the road. Thank God it was the other building, but okay, here now. Yes, thank goodness, Linda. We are so glad you're okay. Yes, timing bell, $1,175 I gotta pay tomorrow. It's keeping me up, that's for sure. Yeah. But at least it was fixed quick, right? It could have taken a lot longer than this. And I will be back mobile tomorrow. I'm being taken to go pick it up and pay that bill. So, she says that she tells the officers in this interview that they had a lot in common. They were both into fitness and healthy eating. He likes cars and is a gearhead. She likes cars as well. So they talk about stuff like that. He was willing to learn new stuff. He was very interested in what she had to share with him. They got along very well, and Nicole never got an indication that he was having issues. They spent all of their dating time in her place or they went out. Now, she just got done saying they rarely went out. Nicole had been to Chris's house twice. Both times were very brief. She did not feel comfortable there, and that is someone else's life and existence, so she did not want to be there. She respected that as their space. She went to the house very early in the relationship. It was right off the highway in Frederick, but she doesn't know the street name. It looks like others live there. He told her he was living in the basement, but they were separated and not divorced. But Chris and his wife were getting ready to sell the house. Nicole was under the impression they were taking their time selling the house. The first time Nicole went to the house was July 4th. Nicole was helping Chris set up his fitness app on his phone. He invited her to his home. He cooked lunch. They ate, and she left. The weekend of July 14th or 15th, Nicole went to the house the second time. That time, she saw a picture of his wife and one of his kids. Nicole questioned why he would want to leave this. They talked about him working on his relationship with his wife. He said they tried working on their relationship and it was not working. Chris described his relationship with Shanann as a contractual agreement and not emotional. And Nicole felt bad about not waiting for him to be completely divorced. And that is the end of page 502. Let's see. Lala, so you get it. You know what's up. Timing belt sucks. I have my police scanner on to find out what really happened. The smoke came to my building, so it had to be bad. Oh, I have a police scanner too, Linda. I love it. It's okay, Joyce. Your spirit is bright, Mama. Thank you. Always get along well in beginning. She went to the house way more. I agree, Joyce. Yes, I totally agree too. I don't understand why the CBI didn't turn up the heat on NK. She gave them unimportant stuff. Nothing from her info helped them. I know, and I don't know why they didn't say anything to her about it. I don't understand why they didn't say, "Why are you telling us all this?" Like they just babied her. I also felt like it was NK that broke into the house when Nate called the police. You're probably right. So 503 says he was reluctant to try and work on his relationship with Shanann. Nicole backed away a bit so he would try to fix his relationship with Shanann. Nicole thought he had a beautiful life going on and she wanted him to try to fix it. NK always got the impression that he was a great dad to his kids. She never met his children, and he never asked her to. They had barely been dating, so Nicole was not ready to meet his children. He was in a situation that he was not completely out of yet, and she was just coming into it, so she did not think it was appropriate to meet his children. He talked to her a couple of times via his work phone. Once they realized they were interested in one another, they stopped talking and texting on his work phone and moved the conversation to the personal phone. He has two phones, one for work owned by Anadarko and one personal. NK had one phone for work and she does personal stuff on it. Her employer pays her for the phone, but it is her phone. Chris went to North Carolina. Prior to going, he said he was going to talk to Shanann about trying to fix their relationship. He went to North Carolina in the last week of July. NK found out Shanann was pregnant via the newspaper article on Monday and Tuesday after her murder. Yeah, right. She did not know this prior. NK thought if he could lie to her about this, what else would he lie about? This made her think about his wife being in danger. She deleted all the information on her phone that had anything to do with him, calls and text and logs. She was grossed out by him, so she deleted all his stuff. It was the hurt that made her delete it, and it was the lie that made her come forward. He told her he was in the midst of a divorce, and then she found out his wife was 15 weeks pregnant and she was hurt. She said a few more things to him, and then she just cut him out of her life. NK met with her dad Wednesday as they discussed getting this information to the police. She doesn't have social media accounts, so there is nothing else on her phone. There's nothing else on her phone that can help, just texting and phone logs. She sent all the pictures she sent to him via text. She gave him the benefit of the doubt the first day when someone does not come home. Murder was never in her mind. NK thought Shanann just left. NK gave it a day. The second day, she was talking to him and he was a hot mess. This is when she cut him off. Chris went back to North Carolina to meet his family. Shanann was visiting her family with Bella and Celeste. This is where when in this interview, she jumps from talking about cutting Chris off after the murders to Nutgate. And we'll read that in just a second. Okay. Chris Watts told the author NK never talked nice about his family. I know. I remember hearing that too. And she lies herself. They can't be done with her yet. Exactly. Okay. So then she goes in, Discovery starts talking about where she goes in, talking about Nutgate, and she says Chris went back to North Carolina to meet his family. Shanann was visiting her family with Bella and Celeste. They had been there weeks prior to him going out to North Carolina. He went in the last week of July, maybe even the last day of July. NK thought she had him convinced to work on his relationship with Shanann, and she figured she was going to get out of this relationship with him. They talked on the phone all the time. Chris was in the basement when they talked. When she was at his house, she saw his workout equipment and a bed in the basement. He said sometimes he would sleep upstairs when Shanann was gone. And now page 504. Hey, Chronic, how are you feeling? I hope you're feeling okay. Yes, Janine, you're right. She did ask all of her friends to delete everything in her phone. She asked them to delete pictures of her on their social media. She wanted to get rid of all traces of her, period. Exactly. He met some of their friends. I know he did. So, page 504 of the discovery, Chris made frequent communication with Nicole while he was in North Carolina. He said he told Shanann he wanted to try and fix things. He said Shanann was not willing to try and wanted him to go. He told NK their relationship, Chris and Shanann's, was done. The next day, he said they are putting the house up for sale when they get back. Shanann was ready to go. Chris got back and they discussed him getting an apartment or a house. Chris said he liked Brighton and he wanted a 2-bedroom apartment, 1 bedroom for him and one for his girls. NK asked him about what a custody of the children would look like, and Chris said he and Shanann agreed to have 50-50 custody. NK told him he should take the time to read articles about what separation does to children. He said the children will be fine. And I find it interesting that she even brings this up. She wants to tell the police to try to make herself look good, that she told Chris that he needed to look up articles to find out what separation does to young children, because her parents had divorced at the same age that his little girls were, and it hadn't really affected her, but she wanted him to look up articles to see if he could find tips on how to have them adjust to it or whatever. And I just find this really disgusting that she would point this out after they are already past and gone. It's irrelevant. Why are you telling the police this except to make yourself look good? So there you have it. Let's see. I love your channel, Donna. Thank you. So, Nicole NK told him, Chris is saying he is the person trying to save the marriage and Shanann does not want it. Chris came home in the first 2 weeks of August. They all came back together. NK found an apartment that was really nice for him. They had planned on looking at apartments the week of August 13th. The apartment was only for him and his family. NK has her own house. He had never asked her to move in with him. They never talked about marriage, meeting his kids, or cutting the mom out. It was never like that. Now, these are words that the detective Kobach wrote down that NK was saying in this interview that he found to be important. And he found it to be very important to write down that NK said that they never talked about marriage, which we all know is a lie, right? She was looking up wedding dresses. That's a lie. And never talked about meeting the kids. That's a lie too. In another interview, she talks about how she would teach them pottery and how to plant plants, how she thought it would be really cool for them to watch something grow. Do you guys remember that? So that's a lie. And so if they never talked about a marriage, that she says here is a lie, and they never talked about her meeting the kids, which is a lie, then the next thing that she says has to be a lie too, right? Or cutting the mom out. Because that's what she told Kevin Kobach, that her and Chris never talked about marriage, they never talked about meeting the kids, and they never talked about cutting the mom out. She said it was never like that. So she just told 3 lies in a row because, well, you know that they talked about cutting the mom out. You know they talked about meeting the kids because she admitted to wanting to teach them to grow a little plant. And you know they talked about marriage or she wouldn't have been looking up wedding dresses. So that whole statement right there is a flat out lie. They never had a conversation of not being able to do this with Shanann or the children around. Why would you say that? Why would you? Of course, that would just be a given that you guys never had a conversation. Why would you have to Put it out in the universe. Most people wouldn't even have to say this. They would just automatically assume that people didn't think that they were having that conversation. But she made it a point to tell Kevin, the law enforcement agent, that they never had a conversation of not being able to do this with Shanann or the children around. I don't understand why you would iterate this if you didn't have a conversation about it. So you must have had a conversation about that. You are just wanting to say that you didn't. Because if you truly didn't have a conversation about that, you would know that people already know you didn't talk about that. It would just be implied, or it would be a given. Like, you don't make that kind of statement if you never had that kind of conversation. Normal people don't have conversations about not being able to do this with Shanann and the children around. What do you mean, an affair? Not being able to have an affair with Shanann and the children around? I just found that to be very telling. So, she just digging a grave, right? I'm in some pain. I'll email you when I can. Yay. Thanks for all. Oh, Chronic. Remember, you have a wrench, sister. You're a moderator. But you only do what you feel like doing. I know you can't do much, but I just want you to know that you have that privilege. She is such a liar, NK. Show him that secret app to hide everything. And she Googled marry your mistress. Exactly, Tracy Lynn. Thank you. What Tracy just said. Can I get an amen on what Tracy said? That's the thing. When one tells the truth, no need to remember, because the truth will never change. Lies on top of lies creates a web of lies, which ends up tangled in lies nonetheless. Agreed. Thanks for asking. What gets me is if she had nothing to do with it or nothing to hide, why not tell the truth and give them everything? Or right now, why not get tired of it right now and come out and answer some questions? Just sending out a friendly hello. I hope that by being here, you can forget about your pain for a little while. Yes, I love my subs. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. That's how come when I slept too long or got my second wind, I was like, I'm just going to spend this time with my community that I love so much. You guys. Let's see. Thank you, Janine. This is my saving grace, the place where I can chat and smile. Yes, love, we are here for you. It's like she was trying to divert everything from her to look away over there, cops. Like, look at the squirrel. Right on. Definitely NK diverted. I see that. I'm here for you and have your back. God sent me an angel with you. I felt the same way about you, Chronic Life. Hey, Save Robbie. Hey, hey, hey. Save Robbie. Amen, Tracy, and we love you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I hope everybody is getting ready for the holidays and that they have the best Christmas ever. Remember, we are going to be live right here on Christmas. I'm going to get everything done. I'm going to have my Christmas dinner on Christmas Eve for my children and my family. Then we're going to wake up, open presents here, and then everybody goes on their merry little way, and I'm always left alone from noon until on. So I'm going to go live around 1 p.m. and stay live on and off all day long for us to have a community of all the people that don't have family. And I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited to finally have something to look forward to on Christmas Day besides my kids getting all their gifts for me. Once they get their gifts, they just want to play with all their stuff that they got, and I'm kind of forgotten. So this is going to be an amazing blessing for me, just as much as it is for you guys. Thanks, Chronic. She would talk about the weirdest stuff and they would just let her go. At times, I thought she was on something. I always thought she was on something. Thank you, Save Robbie. You are precious. You are a sweetheart. I've always thought she was on something. She acted the way that I acted when I was on Percocet 30s all the time. Like, you just could not get me to shut up. And then I would go into like 1,000th deep detail for everything. Like, I would tell you everything about my life from the time I was born until that day. It was insane. Didn't know a stranger. And she reminded me a lot in those interviews of how I used to act when I was on those 30s bartending. Okay, so she says that Chris did tell her that he had a budget for his apartment of $1,100 to $1,400. She knew they had been in financial trouble. When she went to the house, everything in there was very nice. He has an expensive Lexus. She knew he does not make enough to pay for all that stuff. She considered Shanann a sales representative, but NK didn't know how much Shanann made. Chris said she made close to the same amount of money that he did. And Chris never discussed his bankruptcy with NK. He said that Shanann spends most of the money. He was frustrated Shanann had bad spending habits. NK thought the Lexus was Shanann's. NK didn't think they owned any other cars. Chris had his Anadarko truck, but cannot drive it when not at work. He said Shanann wanted everyone to think they lived a certain way and they could not afford it. He was never mean or hostile when he mentioned it. He told Nicole that he and Shanann were housebroke all the time. NK asked if his lifestyle was sustainable, and Chris told her no. He never told NK where his kids went to school. He never discussed the cost of daycare. It's and that's funny too that he didn't really fully trust her enough to tell her where his kids went to school. You know, you loved her so much and it was the love of your life, but you couldn't trust her to tell her where your kids went to school? Or was that another lie? Oh, thank you guys. The comments are so awesome and on point. So Chris told NK that Shanann was bossy. NK thought he was saying his voice is not heard when he voices his opinion. He said Shanann never acknowledged him. He said he addressed it and it seems like she is not interested anymore. He talked about their relationship lasting as long as it has because of his children. Chris said he and Shanann have had communication issues for 6 years. Discovery page 505. Chris had never mentioned to NK that Shanann was pregnant in any of her conversations that she had with him. He lied to her because she would have never wasted her time on him in the first place. Chris never talked bad about Shanann being a bad mother. When he came back from North Carolina, NK saw him a few times. She saw him last Wednesday and this Saturday, August 11th. He wanted to see her more, but she wanted her space. Wednesday, he came to her house. On Saturday, they went to the Lazy Dog off 144th and I-25. They went to another Lazy Dog at 120th and Federal prior, but did not eat there. Chris never mentioned a Rockies game that night. He got a young babysitter that night who was 17 years old, and he could only stay until 10 p.m. He came to her home about 5:30. They drove her truck, the Toyota 4Runner, to dinner. He left to be home by 10. He text messaged her later that night, and he said he had stopped on the way home to get cash to pay the babysitter. 1 p.m. I'm going to go live all day on Christmas, you guys. So the first live will start at 1 p.m., Linda. But I'll go for as long as I can. Then I'll go take a little bit of break. And then I'll be back at like 4. And then I'll go for a little while. And then I'll come back at 9. I'm going to do it all day long for you guys. Because I need it just as much as you do. Did you hear the latest that's out there today? Haven't had time to check, but her discovery shows NK Googled Shanann also in January of 2018, then started at Anadarko April of 2018. Yes, I've seen that. I've always said that she Googled her in January. Sorry. It's also I got that information from True Crime Colorado myself. That's where I heard it the first time, that she Googled her in January. They actually put a whole thing together on True Crime Colorado. If you guys want to, that's a really good site to subscribe to. But they put the timeline together of all. Sorry, there's something on my screen. Of all the times she did questionable stuff, you know. Thank you, Chronic Life, for sharing that. All the while, she's saying all that mess, never mind that SOB. She was gloating over that innocent lives were just stolen. Oh, I know. Chris wished her gone to the Rockies game instead. I know he did. He wished he'd gone to the Broncos game instead because he had been invited to a Broncos game the night that he said he went to the Rockies game. He told Shanann he went to the Rockies game, but that was a lie. He even looked it up and talked about something that had happened the next day with his coworkers. About the Rockies game. He pretended he went to the Rockies game the night before and talked about that Rockies game with his coworkers because he had looked it up on the internet to see what had happened, but he really didn't go to the Rockies game. He was invited to a Broncos game by Jeremy, but he didn't go. But he did say that he wished he would have. You're right, Joyce. It wasn't the Rockies game he wished he would have went. It was the Broncos game. But you're absolutely right. He did say that in an interview. He wished he would have went with Jeremy. That it was one of those opportunities that God was giving him an out. I saw that Chronic Life. Love the name. That's why I'm totally feel she knew of Shanann before there was a Chris Watts. Yep, she started her search in 2017. You're absolutely right. It was August or September of 2017, a year prior to Shanann's death. True Crime Colorado is on point. You got that right. I watched that channel go from 500 subs when I was there in the beginning to what it is now, and it is blown up. This goes back to Mama's theory of NK going to a Thrive get-together prior. I could totally see this woman doing this because she target in this family, I think. I agree, Janine. Love that channel. True Crime Colorado has good information. So right there, he told the police straight up he lied to Shanann. Thanks, Lala. Yes. But you were absolutely right, Joyce. He did say that he wished he would not have went to the Lazy Dog with NK and had went to that game. Who cares what game it was, right? Just the game period with the boy instead of with his homie, instead of with his mistress. And things would have been different. He said it himself. Thank you, Joyce. All right, so let's keep going. The next thing, it says, let me take a sip. During their dinner on Saturday, they discussed his fitness. Chris lost 13 pounds during the time they were dating. She had no concerns that he was using any other drugs. Shanann was in Arizona on August 11th, 2018. Chris told NK she was on a business trip. He said she was coming home really late on Sunday. Chris told NK that Cece is allergic to nuts. Chris told NK that she had an EpiPen for allergies. There had been an argument while in North Carolina regarding ice cream and nuts that she had been exposed to that involved Shanann and Chris's family. Shanann was very upset about this event. Chris told NK his own family ignored him while in North Carolina because of this. Chris said his mother and Shanann did not get along prior to this event. Chris never told NK if Shanann ever had any medical conditions. NK said her relationship with Chris was healthy. She said they were intimate during this relationship. She said Chris told her he loved her, and she said she told him she loved him as well. Chris also wrote he loved her in cards, and she felt he was genuine when he said he loved her. She said Chris sent her flowers and cards and had become very attached to her during their short relationship. NK said her friends never knew about him because it was like he was with two women right now. If he had been divorced, she did not believe she would have told anyone about him. If he had been divorced, she did not believe she would have told anyone about him. So even if they would have been divorced, she's saying here that she wouldn't have told anyone about him anyway. That's what I read right here on page 505 of Discovery. Nicole said her friends never knew about him because it was like he was with two women right now. If he had been divorced, she did not believe she would have told anyone about him. I wonder if that's a typo or if that's legit. It wasn't fair to his family for him to have an affair. NK still didn't know what was truthful or what was a lie. If she would have known some of this, she would have not engaged in any of this in the first place. Nicole began to cry when talking about Chris's children and the situation overall, and Shanann being pregnant. She said she could not understand how anyone could do this. She was obviously upset, and we discussed her getting mental health assistance. The interview with Nicole continued, and she stated, let's see. He's like a child when he says, I was afraid of her knowing Shanann was pregnant. She wouldn't have went on a date with me. Oh my God. And this is NK telling all this to the officer, correct? Yes, it is Discovery it's the interview that we all saw typed out it for Discovery. So anything that law enforcement thought was important in that interview, they typed out and put in Discovery. So it's on page 505 of Discovery that I'm reading this from. Yes, Lala. It's all what NK said to Kevin Kovac in that interview. Yeah, he called that crying. I thought that was odd too, Lala. I didn't think she cried either. She needs her butt kicked. She needs old school help. Faking and faker is what I've said. Fake crying. Yes, agreed. All right, so we discussed a phone call between Nicole and Chris between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Sunday night. She was not concerned what they talked about during this call. She recalled hearing a television on during the call. She said there was not a television in the basement, so she did not know where he was and why he was watching television when it was so late. She said this was odd behavior for him. She recalled thinking Chris may have been waiting up for Shanann to get home. And I think this is important here. I think this was the catalyst. I think this is where NK got really mad and she pushed him to do it then. I know he premeditated. I know he planned it. I know he was already planning on doing it. But in her mind, she got jealous because she even tells the police that she hears the TV in the background and she knows there's not a TV in the basement. And so when she saw Chris on that 2-hour conversation in the bedroom, hearing the, was that, oh no, that was Sunday night. Yeah, in the bedroom waiting on Shanann to get home. That made her mad. She was mad he wasn't down in the basement. And so she probably went off. Oh, what are you waiting up for her? And so instead of trying to bring Chris to his senses, it just infilled his rage even more. So even if he was having second thoughts or doubts, when she saw him on that 2-hour phone conversation up where a TV was, she knew that he was waiting for Shanann. She even told police right here that she said there was not a television in the basement, so she did not know where he was and why he was watching television when it was so late. She said this was odd behavior for him, and she recalled thinking Chris may have been waiting up for Shanann to get home. And I bet you that just burned her up. What do y'all think? And she knew that he wasn't in the basement bed because there wasn't no TV down there. And when she was talking to him, that's why she didn't want to bring up that 2-hour conversation, because she was ridiculing him and going off on him, I'm sure. And so even if Chris did premeditate it and he had planned it for months and months at a time, he could have been having second thoughts. And when she saw him laying in that bed, that waiting for Shanann, she went off and probably fueled the fire and brought him right back to, we're doing this tonight. Even if he had any doubts, maybe he didn't have any doubts at all, and it was already a done deal. But it's just very odd that she points this out, even in this. Exactly, Lala. Can't watch TV in his own house. Yep. I remember how he said he had to talk her down, Lala. Okay, so during this call, he told NK he had to go to the field, not the office, on Monday morning. He said he had to go check on a valve where there was a release. He said he would not see her in the morning. She said this is not uncommon, but typically he goes to the office. She said usually 3 to 4 days a week he goes to the office. She recalled on Sunday, August 12th, that Chris went to a birthday party with his kids. She recalled his kids had a water balloon fight. She did not know whose home he went to. NK said that she went to Denver Museum of Nature and Science on Sunday with her family and that she never saw Chris on Sunday. But she did admit in one of her interviews, you guys, that she did not go to the brunch with her dad. She said she went to that museum with her dad and her stepmom and her stepsister, and that they all went to the museum with each other that day. Her dad even corroborated it in the interview where they were together. But she did say in that very interview that she didn't make it to brunch with them, that she missed brunch because she was working out. That was the day that she worked on legs, she says. So there is a strong possibility that she spent the night at Chris's house after the lazy dog and was late going to meet her dad and didn't get to do the brunch before the museum that they all went to because she was busy with Watts and not working out. Nicole recalled there is a camera on the front door of Chris's home. She said he never used a key to access the home. She could not recall the access pad on the front door, but said Chris never gave her an access code to get in his home. She did not have an access code to the home security system. Mm-hmm. She helped him decide to do it. Exactly. NK was also sending him nude photos when he was away with his wife. Like, look what you're missing. You know, if she drugged him, he can't get an appeal. Yeah, work on your marriage, Chris, NK said while still sending photos. Oh, you're good, Miss T. You're not late at all. We're only on page 506. We started on 501. So we're trying to get through this discovery, but it's juicy. It's hard. It's hard. Okay, so NK recalled next talking to Chris on Monday, August 12th. She said she did not hear a lot from Chris that day. He texted and said it was a busy day. Nothing he said was alarming that day. She said that she left work at 3 p.m. according to her time card. She returned home to a good friend, Jim. And then in parentheses, it says she refused to provide his last name and said he does not know anything about this event and does not know Chris. Jim was her house guest on Monday. She said Jim is a very close friend, but they do not date each other. She recalled getting home and Chris texting her something about his family being gone. She thought the text came in about 3:45. She felt the text message was purposefully sent at that time by Chris. This is the first text he sent Nicole about his family being missing. Chris also asked NK to call him. She said this text did not concern her at first, but when he asked her to call him, she became concerned. Now she's forgetting all about the Monday text about the, oh my God, are you serious? Or, oh my God, that's ridiculous. They would freak out. What about that text that came at like 2 p.m.? You're forgetting all about talking about that one. But later on in an interview, which we'll go over, I'm sure, she says that it was about Lucky Charms and that her and Chris talked earlier in the day. But in the beginning, in the first 500 pages of Discovery, you guys, NK is saying that her and Chris didn't talk until 3:45 that day when she got home from work. Jim was out of her apartment. She talked to Chris later on. But remember that crazy text, which no one will ever know what she was really talking about because it sure wasn't about no Lucky Charms. Sure wasn't about no Lucky Charms. Here's Miss T, you guys. That's another one of my mods. She should have a wrench as well. Miss T. Hey, girl. Hey. Loving my mods. Okay, so she recalled getting home. Oh, NK called Chris at about 4 p.m. They had a short conversation with him saying the police were at his house. Chris was texting saying the police were there and Shanann's friend Nikki was there and she had called the police. Chris and NK was up. Chris said that Nikki, I'm going to have to say NA. Okay, so Chris said that Atkinson was upset and the cops were searching his house. She recalled Chris saying he and Shanann had a disagreement, and he told NK that Shanann was going to a friend's house. NK remembered thinking maybe Shanann just left. Chris then told her that Shanann's cell phone and purse were still at his house. NK thought maybe Shanann was in a rush and left the stuff behind, but knowing Shanann was always on her phone, NK found it strange. She recalled at this time that Chris had previously told her that the house was going to be put on the market the week of August 13th, 2018. Chris said Nikki insisted they call the police, Nicole Atkinson. Nicole said that she does not know Nicole Atkinson. Chris said via text that he thought his wife was with someone and she will be back tonight in text messages. During a phone call, they discussed Shanann leaving, and he again said he thought that she was at a friend's and would be back tomorrow. He made it sound like Shanann was just upset and had just left the house. He also said the kids were gone. Remember, Right now, we are reading out in Discovery Agent Kevin Kovacs notes on Nicole Kessinger's second interview. Her first interview was at a park. It only has an audio. There's no audio and video. Her second interview was at the Thornton Police Department. Her dad was there. And that's when they got the download of her other phone, her iPhone, not her Android. She never gave a download of that one. But yes, this is the agent's recount in Discovery of that interview. Exactly. I want some Lucky Charms too. Y'all notice that in case interview, her dad said, "What was that 9 o'clock talk or something?" I know, and we never got to find out about that. That was my cliffhanger, Miss T. Was did you tell him about that 9 o'clock thing? And it was something about Chris calling Miss T, is what I was gathering, or Chris doing something at 9 o'clock that was odd, and she never told him. Yes, Chronic Life, don't you have another surgery this coming Monday? Tracy, she said that and never went back to the 9 o'clock event. Exactly. Yep, right. She was talking about Lucky Charms. She's crazy. Oh my God. Yes, Chris Watts thought everyone would buy a story. So he made it sound like Shanann was just upset and had just left the house. He also said the kids were gone. Chris said he was going to go to work tomorrow. NK told him to stay home and help the police. Chris was worried about Shanann seeing his truck. So NK told him to move his truck so she would not be scared to come home. She told him to have a friend with him, so if they had a conflict when she returned, there would be someone there. She also told Chris if someone was not there and they got into an argument, to turn his phone and record the argument. So why is she telling him, if she honestly thought that Shanann had just went to a friend's house, why is she telling him to have a friend there when Shanann comes home in case they argue, or to record the argument? If she honestly believed what she was telling detectives earlier, that Shanann had just went to a friend's house, you would not be telling him to record the argument or to have somebody home there to witness the argument if you believe somebody just went to a friend's house. Like, you flip-flop in these interviews and no one ever says a thing about it. I think the text is very revealing. That was the only text she could remember. Where did it go? "10 hours prior, but she knew the Lucky Charms text was another day." Really? Oh, yes. Yes, surgery Monday and now facing probably more. I know you told me, love. That is just awful. I feel there's a good reason we can't let go of this case. Like, Shanann is speaking to all of us. Like and subscribe to get love. Yes. Oh, Kathy Clifton, thank you. You are precious. Thank you. Thank you. Got to get that work on. You guys, if you want some skincare products, some beauty products for Christmas, get your shopping on. My Mary Kay link website is below, and so are my Rarity nail links. Look at my Christmas nails, y'all. Whoop whoop. The nail strip link is below as well. And if you want to make any kind of donation towards the car for me, then do it to the PayPal link below, because Super Chat takes 42%, you guys. Super Chat takes almost half. So that $9.99 I just got, I would get $5 of it, because Super Chat takes half of it practically. It's crazy. But just a little heads up about that. We're going to keep going. I am actually going to go heat up my tea. And when we get back, we will keep going because I have had a good night's rest, y'all. So I know exactly where I'm at. Let me get my refill on my tea. We got 45 on at 3:43 in the morning. Okay. Sorry, I've got to stop juuling. I have cut back, you guys. I've cut back on the jewel. I used to keep it in my hand. I actually have 2 of them in case I lose one. And so I've been jeweling for a year now. And I can feel it settling in my chest. It is no bueno. All right, so let's get back to where we were. NK recalled Shanann not coming home on Monday night. She said Chris told her a story that Shanann had asked. She said Chris told her a story that Shanann had asked him to wake her up before he left for work on Monday morning. Chris said he wanted to get her up, and in parentheses, it says Shanann is usually sleeping when he leaves, according to NK. How do you know what she's usually doing when he leaves? Why would you know that? According to NK, Shanann is usually sleeping when he leaves. He said she woke up and they got into an argument and she was pretty mean. She told Chris that she is pregnant and said the kid was not his. NK said he was playing like he did not know Shanann was pregnant, even though she was 15 weeks pregnant. NK asked Chris if he believes Shanann was pregnant, and in parentheses it says, as she did not find out until Tuesday in the media she was, and Chris said she was showing in North Carolina. NK said Chris was just saying all this stuff to lie to her and to protect their relationship. Chris never said what time the argument started. Chris woke Shanann because she asked him to. NK believed Chris told her Shanann came home about 2 a.m. NK said Chris's story was believable and said he thought Shanann may have said she was pregnant out of spite. At this time, NK said that she still believes Shanann had only left the house with her children, and Chris never asked NK to come to her home. On Tuesday, August 13th, NK asked Chris multiple times where his family was. He said that he did not know and they were not home. Chris said he had a friend named Dave who is a policeman. Chris said he called Dave and asked him to sit outside his house, and he agreed to do so. Chris also mentioned his friend Nick, who was coming by his home. She had never heard of Dave's name prior to this conversation, and she knew a Dave was involved in this investigation now. That's weird. That's the first time I've ever heard that. Have you guys ever heard about this Dave guy that was supposed to be Chris's friend? Let's see. Oh, you ain't got to give me no super chat. Nobody's got to give me a super chat, Linda. It ain't even like that. Trust me on that. Can't let this go because there's so much unanswered. Yes, we are thankful Chris is behind bars, but there's so much evidence showing something or someone else was involved in some way. Agreed, Chronic Life. Kathy, thank you for your support. Mama D sincerely appreciates every penny. Yes. Thank you. You're absolutely right. Thank you, Kathy. All right, so now we are moving along. Nicole said Chris' story was believable, and she said he thought Shanann may have said she was pregnant out of spite. At this time, Nicole still believes Shanann had only left the house with her children. Chris never asked NK to come to her home. On Tuesday, August 13th, this is the part that I've thought was weird, and I've never heard of anything about Dave before. So it says on Tuesday, August 13th, NK asked Chris multiple times where his family was. He said he did not know and they were not home. Chris said he had a friend named Dave who was a policeman. Chris said he called Dave and asked him to sit outside his house, and he agreed to do so. Chris also mentioned his friend Nick was coming by his home. She had never heard Dave's name prior to this conversation, and she knew a Dave was involved in this investigation now. That is really weird that that's even brought up. On Tuesday, during her lunch break, she reviewed the media and found Shanann was 15 weeks pregnant. She said she was concerned because a 4-month pregnant woman would be showing, and she knew Chris was lying. She recalls primarily texting with Chris on Tuesday. She did not recall talking with Chris. She confronted Chris about Shanann being 15 weeks pregnant. Chris asked if this ruins everything with their relationship, and she told him to focus on his family. She told Chris she knew the child was his and was not from an affair of Shanann's. She continued to encourage him to go find his family. NK confronted Chris to stop lying. She said on Tuesday she started to become suspicious of Chris. She said he did not seem to be concerned as he should be, and he was more concerned with their relationship. Oh my goodness. I'll read one more page, or I'll try to find a good stopping point. Yeah, I think we'll finish up these last few pages and then I'll jump off of here. I said an hour and I already stayed way over. Let's see. Linda, welcome to the club. We are all broke. Trust me, it's all good. Mama D doesn't expect a dime other than what she sells. That's right. You are so awesome. Miss T said it for me. Yes, Chris is behind bars. That was enough for police to wrap it all up. That's it. But nope, not enough for us. We all know there's more to it and we want justice. Tracy Lynn, I think they dropped the ball with such a quick wrap up. It's unfortunate, but I feel somehow justice will find NK. Agreed. I believe that Dave is a name that they made up. I heard that before. More than likely, Veronica, you probably hit that nail right on the head. Alrighty. Hold on one second. Okay. NK does not believe Chris ever went to look for his family. NK recalled speaking with Chris on Monday night and he was sleeping. She thought this was strange due to the situation with his family. NK challenged Chris about Shanann being pregnant. Chris then told NK Shanann was pregnant with his child. Chris continued to ask NK if their relationship was okay after telling NK that the child was his. He also expressed concern for his wife and children during these text messages. NK asked Chris to delete his text messages to keep their relationship secret from his friends. NK told Chris to contact her after his family is found. NK said she questioned Chris what he had done, and he said he had done nothing. NK texted Chris and said if he had done something bad, he was going to ruin his life and her life. Chris responded saying he has not hurt his family. NK said this was their last text message on Tuesday. At this time, NK started to think Chris had hurt his family as he had lied to her and Shanann had not returned. Then in parentheses, it says she does not have car, purse, EpiPen. NK said she was scared because she did not know who Chris was anymore. NK recalled another conversation on August 13th, Monday. Chris told NK Shanann had left her wedding ring at the house. Chris asked NK how much she thought the ring was worth. She responded by telling him to pawn it. He said he was going to get the ring appraised. Chris also mentioned North Carolina and he wanted the separation and previously had said Shanann wanted the separation. NK said she saw the interview with Chris and his eyes looked different and it looked like he did not have a soul. She said he looked like a different man. Good night, loves. Good night. Night, night, night. NK spoke with her father about the situation and they decided to come to the police station. She said she wished she had come earlier, but it took her a few days to process what was going on. Chris never said anything about hurting his wife or his children during any of these conversations and had never done so during his relationship with NK. NK thought if she was not in Chris's life, his family might still be alive, but not permanently. So she basically is saying that she thinks that he would have eventually done this. That he might not have done it right then, but eventually done it. That's the only thing I could think by her saying, but not permanently. She does not believe he just snapped. NK does not think she is the only catalyst for this event. She does believe that being in Chris's life may have accelerated the process. She said Chris and Shanann did not get along well, and their financial life was also troubling. She said Chris was struggling with finances, and now he had a third kid on the way, and she does not know if he could afford another kid. Shanann was not responsive to this financial trouble. NK and Chris always, NK said Chris always told her he wanted a third child and wanted a boy. NK said she is very financially stable, and Chris said he did not know women like her existed. NK feels money is the biggest catalyst for this event happening. Of course, blame anything other than yourself, sister. All right, we are almost done with tonight's live, you guys. She is guilty as the day is long. No way she wanted him to delete his text. If the reason she deleted was because he disgusted her, that makes no sense. She was on board until it got too hot. Agreed, Miss T. Agreed. Sorry, Magna, that you just got on. We're getting ready to get off, but welcome to my channel. I have this 1.5 pages to read, and then we will finish everything else up tomorrow, you guys. But it has been great. I agree, Kathy. I said the same thing from the beginning. I think NK was on pills for sure. That I used to be on pills, and I told my whole community that NK acted in those interviews like I used to act when I was bartending and doing Percocet 30s. I was just super talkative. I would give like deep details and unimportant stuff and just dominate the conversation, bring things back to me about me, and I recognize that as well. Yep, I agree with you, Kathy Clifton. So NK recalled Chris never told her about his bankruptcy. NK could not think of any answer for why Chris would have hurt his children. The only thing she could think of was that the kids may have seen him killing Shanann, so he chose to kill them as well. She said Chris loved his children. And I think there's some truth to this, and NK knows that that is the truth. I don't think that the kids were part of the plan. I think that they did see, maybe if the kids were part of the plan, it was just Cece because she would have gotten him caught. She would have been a loose end and would have ended up getting him caught because she can't be as manipulated as easy. She was Rampage. And so I feel like that Bella was never meant to be killed and that she did see her mother being killed. And so he ended up having to kill her. And I think that NK knew that and that she was telling just a small bit of truth here in this tidbit that she gave Kevin. And she said, now again, there's no sense in striking my channel. All parties are innocent until proven guilty. And we are doing this for entertainment purposes only. We are not law enforcement. We are not lawyers. We are not even paralegals. So you don't have to worry about that. We are just discussing what we think and our theories. So NK could not think of any answers for why Chris would have hurt his children. The only thing she could think of was that the kids may have seen him killing Shanann, so he chose to kill them as well. She said Chris loved his children. So that, again, that's why I think that they said that she said that is because she knows that to be true. I inquired with Nicole about her friend Charlotte. A text message was located between Charlotte and Nicole that offered to reference NK dating another person. Charlotte is engaged and is her closest friend. NK said she never dated any other person, and Chris would have been or would have no reason to think she was dating anyone else. She said Chris was never jealous about her seeing anyone else. She said she had talked with other men on eHarmony, but never had dated any of them. That's what she said. Yes, I'm almost done, Linda. And then we all will go to bed. Well, most of us. Some people, it's not late yet. So, all right. So then Agent Tim Martinez asked questions of Nicole. Nicole stated the following. Chris was always more into her than she was into him. Chris and NK had discussed long-term plans. She had asked him if he did not have the big house, what would his house look like? Chris said he would have a smaller ranch house. They agreed to have more of a simple life. And so a smaller ranch house is like his parents' house, and they agreed to have a simple life is more like Ronnie and Cindy live. So I'm wondering if NK ever met Ronnie and Cindy, and she was the one that Cindy wanted Chris to be with. Chris said NK talked about marriage offhanded, and there were not deep conversations. She first met him in May or early June. Let's see. Exactly, Veronica. We're all surrounded by them. Bless. I saw some text between Chris and NK, and she says, I'm not going to stop seeing you. And she asks, are we bad people? So if she thinks he's done with Shanann, why that question? Exactly. I love that statement, Tracy Lynn. You're exactly right. And I saw those text messages too. Thank you, Magna. It's 4 a.m., Linda. 4 a.m. And I'm running on empty already. So, I mean, I'm getting ready to wrap it up. I just got to finish this couple of pages and then we are out. NK said that Chris has worked for Anadarko for 5 to 6 years and he did supervise people. Chris never complained of any medical issues. NK never thought he had any mental or psychological issues. NK does not believe Chris was dating anyone else. Their relationship was sexual shortly after they met, and it remained sexual consistently. Chris has sent her photos of his penis and other workout photos. Chris and Nicole were last intimate at her home on Saturday, August 11th, 2018. They were intimate when Chris picked her up prior to going to the Lazy Dog and immediately following getting back to her home from the Lazy Dog restaurant. Chris mentioned that Shanann never let him openly communicate, and NK knew of no other stressors other than finances. Chris mainly complained that Shanann would never listen to him. Chris also said that Shanann would talk SHIT to him in front of his children, and the children were starting to repeat it. Chris said he tried to ask Shanann for something, and she said, shut up, and he did not know anything. Okay, Chris. His children started to repeat this, and it made Chris very sad, and this is when he realized he needed to separate from her. I never see those kids saying, shut up, you don't know anything. They would have never repeated that. Chris always told NK that Shanann was a good mom. That doesn't back up what you just said. That doesn't sound like a good mom that in front of children tells their father to shut up and that they don't know anything. So which one is it, NK and Chris? It says that Chris always told NK that Shanann was a good mom. But in the same breath, you just said that Chris told you that she would tell him to shut up and that he didn't know anything in front of the children. And that's not a good mom. So I don't get the contradiction, you guys. There was no indication of any abuse or any other concerns. NK asked multiple questions regarding the upcoming legal process and her employment. No further questions were asked of NK and the interview was ended. Nothing further, and the investigation continues. And then it goes into pictures of the cards, I guess. Nicole's phone waiver, the property sheet, Watts card, Watts card, Watts card, Watts card. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards that he gave NK. And then the audio attachment. See, this is all from the Discovery. And that is page 510 if you want to look it up. 510 out of the 1,900 and something pages. So we will pick up tomorrow, you guys, where we left off, which will be 500. And we're going to pick up at 513 because 511 and 512 weren't really important. There wasn't really anything on it. So we're going to pick up tomorrow and go as long as we can before I got to go pick up my car and shell out $1,175 on a timing belt. But God is good. I could be having to buy a new car. It could be worse. And I just got to get back here and make sure that I do a lot of pop-up shops on my YouTube. I got to get back here and make sure I do a lot of lives. So I'm on here, and I've got to make sure to do my makeup tutorials so you guys can see the products in action that I'm talking to you about, that I'm passionate about. You can see my skincare routine, see my entire makeup regimen, and I am just going to be here with you guys, trying to sell my products and do everything I can to replenish that money that I'm about to give up tomorrow. I'm going to hand it to the mechanic and not want to let go of it. We're going to struggle for a minute because that's a lot of money right before Christmas. But I'm very grateful for my community here, so it doesn't matter. I'm truly blessed, highly favored, and I am rich in just people that are welcoming, uplifting, supportive. And so I'm going to be that for each and every one of you. I promise. So don't you worry about Mama Beauties. I got this. And everyone have a wonderful night. And I will talk to you at some point tomorrow. We will go over some more Discovery. And I think I'm getting my nails on Friday. So expect another pop-up shop, you guys, on Friday or Saturday night. And I'll get everything mailed out within a day, and you will have your stuff within 3 or 4. So it is great. And I have lots of references that have already received stuff from me. So there's plenty of people out there that know that I deliver and I'm prompt, and it's no hassle. It's great. And you guys' contributions to my pop-up shops have been awesome. It helped me so much. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a good night. Bye, girls. Bye. Bye, boys. Bye. Whoop, whoop.